It begins as simple as just saying no without feeling like you need to give an explanation, without taking on the sadness or the guilt or receiving the manipulation from the person to whom you said no. The first time you do it, it's just as simple as that. Because no is indeed a complete sentence. It is your right to say no, to refuse to go do whatever you don't want to do. And sometimes people just need to respect that. Maybe in that moment, you can't even explain to them why you're saying no. And it means sometimes in your voice, it means not having to say that, but just having people that love you enough to respect it. And later on, for those of you who want an explanation, when you respect what a person says, the explanation will come, because at that point they feel safe and they feel heard to be able to, or to even want to explain. But when somebody is always challenging your thought, and then they're not hearing you and they're not receiving, and then they're telling you how your feelings may or may not be right, you are taking and stripping their voice. And see, I know, when I believe in something, I am very passionate about it, okay? And people will tell me all the time, and I get that from my mom. I remember people used to think that my mom was mean, and I was like, no, she was just passionate. And a lot of things that I realize now, because growing up, the way my mom and I looked, it was natural to me. I was always more fair-skinned. She was a beautiful dark woman. I never knew and understood or realized how much people thought she was more angry because she was darker. So she could raise her voice, and it's, people act like the world had ended. Whereas I understood, I grew up with her, so I didn't see that. I am that same passionate as well. If I feel something, and especially if I feel like you're trying to take my voice, or you're telling me, no, it's not that way, honey, I'm going to fight you. I'm going to fight you tooth and nail, because like I told you in my very first video about voice, if you have not followed the series, go back and look at it. Thank you all. Let me pause for the calls and say thank you for those who've given me feedback, who really have enjoyed the series, because finding your voice is everything. When you are able to have your voice and your opinion about stuff, and that you're able to hold it, and that you're able to say it no matter what, and realizing that people that push you past your voice, that push you past where you want to go, there's something wrong with them and not something wrong with you. It is freeing and it is amazing. And I am grateful that that God gave me the idea, and that I did not mind stepping out and saying it. Because one thing I realized is that a lot of people do not have a voice, and I want to see you empowered. And when you don't have a voice, you think everything is an argument, a challenge, when really people exchanging ideas, and people, it's one thing for somebody to challenge your mindset, right? It's one thing for them to say, well, why not? And you say, I just don't want to. And then once you express that you really don't want to, or you give them that look, there's so many other things, because it's not just the voice, but it's the look, it's the I'm done talking about it. People that care about you will read the body language and read and know, like, okay, it's something more there, and I'm not going to press. Or it's something more there, and while I may ask them, I'm not going to try to change their mind. I just want to know if they're okay and what I could do. Those are different types of probing and pushing and promoting. That's different from somebody literally saying, okay, the way you feel is unacceptable. I won't take it. You're going to do what I want. I'm going to manipulate you. I'm going to make you feel bad. I'm going to make you feel sad. That's a whole different mindset. And that's the mindset we're trying to fight. There are too many times where people are trying to make you, they want to know everything. If you say, no, I'm not going, I shouldn't have to tell you, well, it's not in my budget, it's not this. If I say no, and I say it several times, and I say, okay, that's not for me, just accept it. Do you really think people want to give you a rundown of what they have going on when they have told you they can't do it, or it's not something they want to do? Absolutely not. And that's part of voice. It is so simple. It begins so simple as somebody challenging your no. And the first time you give into it and it becomes a habit, or there's certain people you avoid because you don't like the way you feel or you don't like how you feel after you engage with them. Those are all things that are challenging and snatching your voice, and that's just not what we want. It makes you feel less than because every time you allow them to take it, then you are sitting back and your soul, your inner being is saying, okay, you're not more important than them. They are more important. What they want rules everything, and you just have to accept it. That's literally what you're telling yourself because your silence to you is speaking volumes. That's why it's important to find a way. That's why it's important to engage. That's why it's important to be able to say no. Like I said, I don't expect you to change who you are. That's not what I'm saying. I don't expect you to be able to readily defend why you say no or even be ready to have a conversation. But you have to find that conviction to where you can stand in your conviction and stand in what you're saying and be able to say, that's just not for me. And maybe I'll talk to you later. I don't even have to say I will talk to you later. We have to earn a safe space in people's life for them to confide in us. And if you don't earn that, then that's on you. Because everybody has to be able to be safe to be who they are and to do what they need to do. Remember, your voice is important. And it may seem simple. You may say, oh, that is not that big of a deal. But trust me, if you think about it later, 24 hours later, 48 hours later, if you're even thinking about what you gave into or why you gave into it, then you know it was important for you to speak up. It's been your girl, Candid with Kim, wanting you to be empowered and to use that voice.